Hello, and welcome to our show, Midwest Weekly Power Rankings and Stats, starring myself, Herwick, and my co host, CLT. We are here to give you today's power rankings for the week, as well as some stats over the last 2 weeks, breaking down week 4. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with Herwick's Baba Yaga hit list. All right, CLT, why don't you start off by doing this for me this week since we kind of know the three bottom teams. Let's reveal all three of those, and we can kind of have a little discussion between the two of us on where you think these teams should lie or if you disagree. And so that's going to be still being at the 18th spot, Ice Wall, due to the simple fact that they forfeit, so they're not moving. T1 Tempest and Caster Curse, both being at 17th place and 16th place, respectively. I continue to keep Caster Curse above T1 Tempest because they've actually been able to take some games off some teams and look, for the most part, a little more competitive in my eyes than T1 Tempest. Do you have a take on this CLT?
Um, I mean, I for the most part agree with you, and I don't want to be like too overly like biased in this, as I am on one of these teams in the list. But I think you could definitely have a discussion between Caster Curse and Tempest. Like I think both of them have had really good, solid, competitive showings and series that results in a loss. And I think against some of the better teams, they definitely have had a really big uphill battle and a really tough time against them. So, um, you could have an argument on who's above who at this point, but all three of these teams don't have a single win, so they just kind of deserve by default to be at the bottom of this list.
Yeah, and I should point out, besides the fact that they're 0-4, all three of these teams have been eliminated. So unfortunately, there will be no opportunity for them to make the playoffs here in Week 5. But I hope they go out and they play their darndest and best and try to stop other teams from making the playoffs. So why don't we go ahead and move into the next team on our list? All right, and that's going to be Dyslexic Defenders. Uh, Listen, I think they had a really, really good showing against Ghost, but considering that team was a conglomerate of kind of a different unit, you had two subs. It's not like their normal roster. You can look at it two ways. You can say, hey, well, they didn't have their normal roster, so you should give them props for pushing Ghost to 3. Sure, but then there's the other way of looking at it, and that's the fact that then it's kind of also a different team. Not everybody was in their normal role as well. From the roster, the support had moved mid, the mid went to jungle, so it was really a new team. And if that was the team that was going to be playing moving forward, maybe I would be ranking them higher just because we can confirm that, right? But it's not. So we want to see what the normal roster is going to look like here. Hopefully in week 5 and playing for a potential playoff spot against, I believe, Cal Poly Division 2. Um, you can go ahead and show me the next team, and then maybe we can have a discussion about the next team here. And that's Insane Banana Posse. So I'm just kind of curious for you, CLT. I've obviously got the Celtics Defenders at the number 15 and Insane Banana Posse at the number 14, both dropping down a spot. Do you agree with their placings on this list?
Yeah, for the most part, I Dyslexic had a really nice showing against Team Ghost in week 4. But it was a couple subs, couple role swaps. I know the holiday scheduling was tough on them. So, in that regard, yeah. And Insane Banana had a really rough showing against Coin Flip. Now, granted, Coin Flip is one of the top teams in the league and the last undefeated left. But getting 2-0'd in the fashion that they did, I think it's really hard to argue moving them up. So just naturally.
Yeah, I definitely consider like what the teams have played against. And I think Insane Banana Posse playing against Coin Flip, it shouldn't really hurt them that much. It's a team that's just really, really good right now. They were already coming in 1-2. They dropped to 1-3 along with the Dyslexic Defenders after this week. But both teams still have potential at making playoffs, and that's the biggest thing here. They would have to get a little help, of course, for Insane Banana Posse to do so. But it all starts with their Week 5 matchup here against Caster Curse. So can Caster Curse tell them no, slam that door shut, and say we're gonna end off the split strong, or Insane Banana Posse gonna get the win and give themselves a shot? That's to be known. But with that being said, why don't we move into the next team, CLT? Yeah, it's gonna be load the cannons. So this one is a pretty far drop, and I think people will be confused by this. So I think I'd like to kind of show why there is this drop. So first off, let me get the next two teams because this is specific towards why they have taken the drop in the fall they have had. So first off, they did drop to 2-2. They lost to Sad Jellyfish. Sad Jellyfish, they had beaten them. So of course, based on my typical rules, like 99% of the time, I'm generally going to put the team above that had previously won the series. So I think Sad Jellyfish right now, based on their play, based on what I saw, is a better team at this current state. Scorch is a team that has just had a decently tough time in Group A. The teams that they have lost to are pretty good teams. That being Freebrax, who is on the rise, and I think a team that's actually shown that they're much better than we thought they were, especially at the start of the season. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe they lost to Gamers. No, Coin Flip. So they've lost to some pretty good teams. Certainly teams that are now looking like they're in the top 10, top 8. 8 is part of the bracket. So again, you got Load the Cannons here sitting at the 13th spot, Scorch at 12, and Sad Jellyfish at 11. Do you disagree at all with these three teams?
Uh, no, I think Sad Jellyfish being above the other two, they had the most impressive win this week. I probably would say the most impressive win out of the whole league for week 4, taking care of Load the Cannons in a pretty decisive fashion. Load the Cannons looks like their highs are really, really high, but then their low points are really low right now. So I don't want to call them like super inconsistent because they have a lot of talented players on there. It just feels like they haven't fired on all cylinders.
Yeah. And if you consider this list that 12 teams make the playoffs, you're correct. I've currently got Load the Cannons out of the playoffs right now. That's basically what this list is telling you at number 13. But who knows? They are also fighting for their playoffs hopes. But yeah, they've taken one of the biggest drops of the split here. Again, falling 6 spots from their original placing last week. Let's go ahead and get into the next team, CLT. Yeah, so that's going to be Freebrax. I think this one kind of speaks for itself. Freebrax, I think they're starting to look pretty impressive. Considering their wins over Scorch, a team that we've lauded a lot over the split, how good we think they are, and what they've shown us in the past. I think Freebrax is looking really good at the right time. They're spiking right now, and so for me, after considering who they've been playing against in Group A, after considering who the teams are below them, and after considering the teams they have beaten, I've come to this idea that they are no longer a bottom 6 team. They're finally moved up, and they're in the middle 6 now, which is a huge jump for Freebacks. Again, 5 spots from their original location here in week 3. And so that's where I've got them here now, sitting at the number 10 spot. Do you think Freebacks is too high, or do you think I've kind of got them where they probably should be, considering what's probably above them now?
Mm, I think I think Freebrax is in a really good spot, and I agree that they've moved up to this middle 6 where I think you could have a discussion of where they land between like them, Sad Jellyfish, and even Load the Cannons to some degree. I think you definitely need to reward them over a really, really hard fought win against Scorch. and from a team at the beginning of the split that looked like they were having a lot of difficulties matching up against some of the better teams in their group. Now they're basically in a prime position to make playoffs, which is a big, big improvement, as you noted. So I think Freebrax beating Scorch definitely deserves to be above them. You could argue, between Freebrax and South Jellyfish, but they're rightfully in that middle six. And if they keep improving, they're going to be a really dangerous team in that first round of the playoffs.
Absolutely. Let's do this here. Show me the next two teams for me. Yeah, so that's going to be peanut butter and jelly and Cal Poly Division Two. So I had a hard time. I always have a hard time in the middle part of these rankings. All these teams from specifically Low the Cannons all the way to I believe peanut butter and jelly are all 2-2. And so when you're considering that, it's really hard then to weigh it out. You got to weigh the wins, you got to weigh the losses, you got to weigh a lot of factors. Um, and what I've seen from Cal Poly, with the exception of their recent loss, and I know that's the biggest mark on them right now, they've just looked really, really good overall in their 3 games or 3 series they played up to that point. We all have bad weeks and off weeks, and I think that's really what Cal Poly was. It was an off week for them. I do not think that's a good representation of the team that they are. But based on their placing, that means they're making playoffs and they're going to play dyslexic defenders. So if they do not beat dyslexic defenders, then I am just completely wrong on my placing here to put them and consider them this high. On the other side of things, Peanut Butter and Jelly, I think, has been one of those teams that's been excellent all split and just happens to be in a very, very tough Group B, pushed every single series pretty much they've played to 3 games. And they just took out Backdoor Bandits, who was a top 3 team last week. So I was very impressed with their win. You talked about Sad Jellyfish maybe having one of the best wins. I think this is the best win of the week,
I think
in
that's
my
fair. Yeah.
opinion. And they moved up 4 spots here to the number 8 spot. So go ahead and show me number 7 and number 6. All right. So we got small brain, no mechanics. So people probably gonna wonder, why is small brain no mechanics after getting a basically free win, even moving up? Well, the reason why I moved them up is because I consider teams losing. Right, Low the Cannons losing is gonna move them down. I understand Low the Cannons did beat small brains this split. I'm not disregarding that, but what I am considering is that Low the Cannons losses do look a little rough. Their 2 losses did not look good. Um, Whereas I think Small Brains lost to the Cannons, it actually doesn't look as bad because the overall series was very competitive. Small Brains just had their off day, I think, and that's what I was talking about with Cal Poly. I think every team has had that off day so far, so that's why I've got them at the number 7 spot, and it's simply because the Cannons dropped down. As far as why they're not above Ghost, I do think current Ghost is still slightly better than Small Brains, only slightly. So that's why I've got them edging right now and is currently sitting at the same spot they were last week at the number 6. Uh, Based on now what you see, this middle 6 here, 12 through or 11 through 6, what do you think of the placings? Do you think everybody's kind of where they should be? Because this is pretty much all the 2-2 teams and the lower side of the 3-1 teams.
I think the middle six is definitely like the most difficult ones, as you noted, to place. Um, you could kind of make an argument to move like a team one plus one minus one, but honestly, like there's so many marquee matchups coming into week five that I think the middle six will kind of sort itself out. You have a really Small Brains has a really tough matchup with Backdoor Bandits. Ghost has another tough one with Instinct. Uh, Sad Jelly or not Sad Jellyfish. I'm sorry. Scorch and Free Brax have the top 2 teams in Group A that they got to match up against in this week five. So you could argue placements here, but I think at the end of the day, after week five, it'll settle itself out.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, let's settle out the rest of those lists and get towards the end here. Let's get a couple more teams.
We'll get 2 for you then. Good sir.
Thank you. And yeah, that's going to be TK Gamers and Backdoor Bandits. So, as we talked about, Backdoor Bandits taking a sad, sad defeat here to Peanut Butter and Jelly. I'm sure they wish they could get back, but due to the fact that they did lose again in three, so it's not going to knock them down that far, they are going to drop 2 spots and fall all the way now to the number 5, while TK Gamers actually moves up just slightly to the number 4. TK Gamers has been consistently hovering here in the top 5, all split. We already know about TK Gamers. We could talk at Anesium about them. Their victory over Caster Curse, it didn't show too much. It was just a really good win. Solid series from them. Whereas Backdoor Bandits, again, like I said, the loss, that's kind of their mark. When you consider the losses, I think TK Gamers' loss is just a little better right now, considering they did lose a coin flip, the only undefeated team in the league. So that's why they're edging out Backdoor Bandits. And I do think Gamers' gameplay has been just slightly better. So with that said, why don't we just go ahead and reveal the final 3 CLT. All right, so that's going to be, if you guessed it already, coin flip at the number 1, TK Benchers at number 2, and congratulations to Instinct CK. You moved into the top 3, moving up a spot on Herwick's Bobby Aga hit list. What do you think about these last 6 CLT?
I think these last six are a very interesting discussion. Um, Backdoor Bandits definitely had a rough loss on paper, but if you watch the game, and I was fortunate enough to cast it, I felt like it wasn't really gameplay related. It was more so like some of the decisions in the draft didn't put them in the greatest position there. So you could argue that they still deserve to be up in that like upper three, upper four area. But a loss is a loss. You gotta win your games here. So no no issues honestly with any of those. And like I said about the middle six, there's a lot of marquee games where the middle six is going to challenge the top six in this week 5, and we'll see how everything shakes out.
Yeah, indeed. And here's the thing, Instinct CK, they only played T1 Tempest, but it was a very dominating series. I mean, they really just like took care of T1. It was in, it was out, it was on to the next one. And that's why for me they just are moving up. And I think the big thing for me too is they have they've beaten was the benchers, right? They've beaten the benchers. So I was torn to put them above benchers, and it's been so weird. And I've been it's the only one where I haven't followed my rules, right? They have the same record, but I still think benchers is slightly the better team right now. I think if we play that series back again, I do think benchers has the advantage and would edge out Instinct CK. But
Mhm. Like I think.
here's the thing,
Sorry.
and you can get your point. I'm gonna finish mine. I'm gonna let you get your
You
point. I
good. You good.
promise.
You good.
I want to say that we just talked about the week 5 matchups. The week 5 matchups for these teams are very important. As I know Instinct CK has Ghost on the record. They are coming for that number 2. Well, TK Benchers is not as important, but it does impact their chances at 1 seed, right? They got T1 Tempest. So let's see if TK Benchers play is as clean as Instinct was over T1 Tempest, and that would be the thing that could sway me, as well as a victory over Ghost, and that would move them into the number 2 spot for me. So it's going to be fun, and it's going to be exciting to see how that fans out. But reality is, I do think that's your top 3 teams in the league right now, regardless of how you want to rank them. But go ahead with your point, CLT.
No, I think I th- I for the most part like 100% agree with you. I think week 5, like I've said it before, it's going to show a lot. I think Instinct deserves to be up there in that upper 3, upper 4 area. They have a really really impressive win on their resumes, taking out TK Benchers, and honestly, they're rattling off three series wins in a row, as their only loss was to Cal Poly week 1. So they've had a really big upswing, almost as big of an upswing as Freebrax, I could argue. going into this week 5, but they do have a, like you mentioned, like a really marquee matchup against Team Ghost. And if you can knock off Benchers and Ghost, like then it just solidifies that you should be up there. And there's no argument there. So
Yes,
yeah, this middle six versus the top six is it's gonna make for a very, very entertaining week 5. I can't wait.
yeah, it's gonna show us who are the contenders and who are the pretenders, as they say. Because if you're looking at my list in a way that you could break it down, your top six are your contenders right now. These are your teams you think can make a real run at an actual championship. I'm not talking a playoff win. I'm talking the entire thing. Your next six, and I would even argue this. Maybe you separate it into your next three and then your next three. I think your next three would be like your echelon of like, these teams can maybe make a run to maybe the semifinals. Maybe they're good enough to do that, but they're probably not a one-seeded team. They're probably not a team that gets a bye. They gotta run the gauntlet, and I think they eventually probably run into that team that can just knock them down to size and put them right back where they belong. But they do have potential. They have that potential to maybe make that finals run. And then the next three after that, which would be your last three to make it into the playoffs, those are your teams that are like, yeah, they're more than likely a first round exit. Maybe one of those teams, like maybe like a sad jellyfish, would be your team where you're going, okay, this team has potential to actually do a little more than that. But that's kind of how I'm looking at it right now, and how I'm breaking it down. And obviously, we know the rest of the six, and we can break it down like this: the rest of the 3 and 3 would be you're not making it at all, and you've got one chance. Good luck, right? So, and I would be considering them to be outside of the playoffs, which is though the Cannons the same banana pots and dyslexic defenders. I feel like they're the teams that are going to be left on the side hanging, unfortunately. So that's kind of how I'd break down the list for me. Um, and week 5 will tell a lot. And I think when we come back to this in week 5, I don't think I'm going to rank all 18 teams at that point. It will just be the top 12 because those are the teams that are going to playoffs. But it'll be interesting to look at. So, with that being said, is there anything else you want to say about this list, CLT, before we moved on to your segment?
No, no, I think the list is really well thought out, and you know it like we said week 1 when we started this and continue to start this, like it's all gonna figure itself out. So
Yeah. Well, with that said, why don't we jump into your favorite little segment of the week, and that's CLT's Island of Misfit Stats, and um, kind of see what's going on there, and you just let us know, Mr. CLT.
yeah, um, the stats for the most part haven't changed in the sense of like power picks. You still have your Victor Skarner up top. This week was a big week for Ash. She made a move. I know she was in like top 8, but now she's like third because Mbessa is continuing to fall down in the power pick ratings and even in presence as well. I think the only person that hasn't shied away from Mbessa plays her in the jungle. It's insane banana, uh, flame dog. So this also was a really nice week for Camille. She got played quite a bit, with some positive results for the most part. Um, so yeah, we still continue to see Victor on top. This champion will not go away. This champion will not get doesn't appear to get any nerfs anytime soon. If anything, I think the AP item, the AP Black Cleaver item may help him more because he cycles through cooldowns and does repetitive amounts of damage quite heavily. So I just this champion is either picked or banned. Just it's still strong. It's going to continue to be strong. So
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, I definitely agree with you there. I mean, if you're looking at the power pick number, I mean, it's at 73.7. It's kind of crazy. The thing I'm curious about is Victor going to hit 20 wins before the split is the regular season's done? Will he get picked 4 more times and win? That's what I'm curious about.
I think he gets picked 4 more times, and I would say like just looking at the win weight, if he gets picked 5 more times, he gets the 20 wins just based off the win rate percentage alone. Um, but there's a chance, yeah, Victor could go 4-0 in week 5. Could even go 5-0. We don't know how the next patch. We won't have a great sample size on the next patch. This week will be the only week on it out of the regular season, and there are some teams. The patch hits Thursday, and there's already a match scheduled on Friday and a few on Saturday. So it's going to be hectic. I don't know if it's going to be hectic enough to skew the rankings and the stats enough, but it's definitely something we'll keep in mind. Uh, big, like I said, big winner of this week I felt like was Ash. He jumped up quite a bit, got 2 more wins on there, and still, even when Ash is behind, has a great impact on the game. We've seen again, I think, 2 long distance arrows for Grub in a Rift Herald fight, while she's just chilling hitting the bot lane turret. So champion definitely seems to be not only the safest but most consistent. 66% win rate, still very respectable. Looking at the top lane a little bit, Camille finally kind of got off her throne a little bit. She did actually get 2 losses for the week, but still 80% win rate. Just wasn't picked as much as she has been getting picked. So we see Cassante kind of jumping that a little bit. He's respectable 72% win rate. Just this champion does it all, and the people that know how to play him well. So definitely still worth the bans, worth everything that you throw at him.
Yeah, and I mean they have basically the same record, right? It's 8-3 and 8-2.
Yeah,
So yeah, I would say if you're looking to pick top winners right now, maybe start running some Casante Camille, man. Might be some free wins. Um,
yeah. We see though Cassante's banned almost 10 more times than Camille. So you do not want to see these marquee top laners like Dippy, CC Star, Havoc. Like you just don't want them to get their hands on a pick that can just showcase their talents like Cassante. So um kind of looking mid lane. I don't remember. We might have seen one Ari this week, but we've seen quite a bit of Hwei actually. So he jumped up a little bit, 9 and 7, 56% win rate. So not like the top tier, but I think people are finding out that Hwei in even losing matchups can still pressure a lane, wave clear. He just does a little bit of everything, and players that can execute him really well get the most out of that champion and get him to be that jack of all trades.
yeah, I
So
think it's interesting. Again, we were kind of talking about Casante and Camille. The Arya and Hwei, it's literally one loss separating the two. But both same amount of wins, basically same amount of picks. The only difference is Arya has a few more bans, and that's just to do with a lot of the RE players that we have. I know COT is one of them. Zemma is one of them. Um, Tom is one of them. Like we have some premier RE players in the league play the champion really well. It's certainly not just these players that are picking the RE. I'm just pointing out some that are obviously going to get more consistent on the bans. Um, if you're looking at some of these champions and uh, looking at the bans part of it, COT, I think some of these champions are just getting banned because of one player. But like usually these top ones, right? Most of this is just it's an actual high value pick.
yeah, like I foresee we were talking about um with Victor hitting 20 wins. I think we easily see Skarner hit 40 bans. Like no one wants to play against this champion. But yeah, Hui's actually almost up to 20 bans himself. So it is when there's a Hui player in the lobby, he tends to find a way to get on the ban list. So
Yeah, we do.
uh,
you should. I feel like we should point out the fact that supports are also starting to come down back to earth for some of these picks. Like the um, Nami is now 6-6. She's not as like oppressive as it seemed like she was there for a bit. So I wonder if that's to do with the fact that maybe some non-Nami players were picking her, and maybe it really was just those Nami players are good at Nami. Um, and maybe that's the thing about support. I've been wondering that, CLT. I've been trying to figure that out, and I'm starting to think that maybe support picks, because the reason why they're so diverse is there's not a lot of shared champ pools like there is for maybe some of these other roles right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. There are definitely some really high tempo, high aggressive support players. I mean, Geo Pow from Coin Flip comes to mind, and there's a few others. But there's also like a bunch of support players that have no issues playing enchanters and supporting their team in that way. Like Calico from Scorch comes to mind, and even she plays like her patented Zillion. So there's definitely seems like uh two different styles of support players in the league, and some of them like Nami can be a little bit of a pseudo shared pick, but if you play her as an enchanter, she doesn't enchant them much. And if she's the only solo peel and there's not like a front line, she really can lose value there and just be a premier target to get blown up. So we kind of mentioned that before, that the support players have such not necessarily a wide champion pool, but there's a wide variety of different support players, so it skews these stats a little bit. We don't even see a support pick honestly in the top 10 or 12 here. I mean, Seraphine's the highest rated one. She has a 50% win rate, only 8-8. And actually, I think a couple of those Seraphine picks might have been mid, so that even skews the stats a touch. But
And
you don't
ADC.
see. Oh yeah, yeah, and bot lane as well. So it's really tough to look at support picks. I think that's where you separate the good teams from the great teams. It's like what their supports pick, and does that mesh with their comp and play style a lot. So it'll make for a very interesting playoffs, and overall just a very interesting matchup between bot lanes, especially across groups. So um kind of staying on topic with the bot lane a little bit. We did touch base on Ashe a little bit. Uh, you got Sivir. You were kind of the advocate for Sivir being like a really solid champion, and we've seen it quite a bit this week. I know you when you subbed in a series, like Sivir got bullied in the early game, but still got the 3 items and still output, really solid DPS for her team. It's just a champion that seems to be really, really hard to just keep down. You can knock her down, but you can't keep her down. So 11-5 is pretty impressive overall. But you still got Jinx up there. You still got Jhin up there. Caitlyn's an interesting pick. It feels like when I watch Caitlyn win games, she's not the reason they win. But when I watch her lose games, sometimes she just doesn't output enough DPS to get through tanks. So she's 6-9, not the greatest win rate, but there's still people that play her and play her comfortably. So I'm not sure how that'll affect the playoffs, but all in all, really, really diverse set of champions that we have in the support and in the bot lane role. We even see mages getting down there. Boonstrip played the ASOL bot lane to a win. So yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, first of only sold the split as well.
Yes, yes, it was.
And I'm always intrigued by these types of things actually. So we kind of can see a lot what's going on here at the top of the bracket, and something I've always find intriguing is when you kind of flip things the wrong way. You flip things around and you go with the. Oh, I'm doing it the wrong way. Hold on. Okay, so yeah, so you come down to like the single picks and stuff. That always really intrigues me. Like Udyr has only one pick and he's 100% win rate, right? But that's not the point. Right? He's just been played once. But there's a bunch of champions been played once, whether they've won or lost. Um, it's just very interesting to me, and a lot of that has to do with I feel like a lot of pocket picks. I feel, you know, I know there's like a couple of deer players, and I forget who they are, but that's what I feel like all these bans are coming from. And the guy, Darkhound, right, was one of them.
Yeah, Darkhound
Yeah,
was the win, and he
yeah.
was an absolute monster on that.
So like you just don't see these champions, and it's so funny to me to see that. Um, yeah, it's been pretty unique when it comes to um this part of the stats. You're not seeing like all these crazy numbers. You're just seeing, oh wow, one time, maybe two times it was picked, and that's it. I think that's very interesting, and what champions are kind of falling under that bracket. So it makes you kind of wonder: are the champions good? Are they bad? You really don't know. I mean, you can't really base it completely off these stats, right? Because there's not enough of a sample size to give you a definitive, um, you know. But was just something I wanted to point out. CLT, I think, interesting for the viewers to see, right? And as far as like champions of this week, we had Fizz, Kale, Aurelion Soul, all picked this week for the first time. What else? We had Morgana,
Rise.
Rise,
Yep.
yeah, and all these champions won. And
Morgana was in the jungle, by the way.
yes, Morgana was in the jungle. And so, yeah, it's been very, very unique situation where um, these champions are probably more pocket picks than anything for these guys. Um, and that is why when they're pulling them out, it works that one time because the champion might not be as strong. Honestly, there's a good potential for some of these champions. They're not as strong, but you're not used to playing against them right now. And boom, here it comes. And you just kind of get surprised by it. So, just some interesting stuff there.
Yeah, and then some of these pocket picks are getting kind of brought out by strong playoff contending teams. So it's kind of curious if they're playing these to try them out, or if they found like a diamond in the rough. Like I know Free Bracks, they've been on the rise. We touched on them in the power rankings. Big B played this rise and played it like really, really well and had a really big impact on the game.
He,
Now, is that something you have to watch out for, or is he going to play it again in week 5 and continue to showcase it? You know, it's where does it go from there?
yeah, it definitely it brings a wrinkle into people
Hmm.
when considering their individual ability to play certain champions. Um, but yeah, what was some other stats that you kind of found intriguing? Was there anything else you were really kind of noticing as from the trends?
Uh, not nothing really like screamed out at to me that too much. I know Fiora was played quite a bit this week. I didn't get a chance. So yeah, she's 1-3. We touched on it in the mid mid Midwest Weekly with Havoc a little bit of like, the perceived strength of split pushers and how we don't see really any of them outside of Camille. Uh, so it's interesting to see if these Fiora players are going to continue to try and press and make this Fiora work, or just go to something else. She did get a win. Actually, I think that was in the Dyslexic series against Havoc. Um, but it's I don't think the 4-1 comp is like totally gone, but split pushers do have a rough time right now. And I think these champs like Fiora, Jax, Stet, Gnar, they have very specific spots and very specific players. So if it all lines up, they look really, really good. But for the most part, as like a general pick, there's just there's just picks that do their job and do it easier and better. Like in this case, Camille.
Yeah,
So,
I'm curious who's the Fiddlesticks bands for? There's seven of them, and
uh,
somebody
I
around here plays some Fiddlesticks, huh?
I actually don't know, cause that could that be for Fidsticks a little bit?
Alright, so Fitzik does play at support and obviously jungles and solo queue, but we don't usually get a ban against us. So if it was, it might have been one time. But I think a majority of those bans are from an actual jungler currently. I just don't know who. So
I mean,
um,
it,
so I gotta tell
it
you if it
could.
was banned in our series, and it hasn't been.
It could be
Um,
either Flame Dog or Dark Hound. Like those two are so creative.
yeah. Um,
So
and I'm curious, is CC Star gonna get his Yorick? Cause that's been I don't know where it's at. I don't see it, but
that
oh
might be the most banned non-played champion, by the way.
yep. Besides Udyr, but Udyr's been played once. Um, let me find y'all Yorick real quick. I'm taking my time here. Wait, oh there it is. What do you keep
Sorry,
messing with me? Oh my
sorry,
money.
sorry.
It's okay, I'm not mad. He has been banned 10 times, bro. Holy moly! Hey, yo, give CC Star a champion this week, guys. I want I
I
want
wasn't
to
giving it to
I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to know how good he still is on the pick. You know, I know he was good before, but has he lost a step? I want to find out.
him. By the way, the funnel Yumi strat is 1 and 2.
Yeah, lost both games.
Uh, it lost both games when Insane Banana pulled it out, but then TK Gamers won it against my team in
Crazy.
game 2 this past week. Yeah, but that was Yumi Breyer. It
Hmm.
wasn't the Kane or the Talon that we've seen out of Insane Banana.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what else people cook up and what other stuff changes. Obviously, you know, these at the end of the day, these stats are for you guys to be able to access, get some information, maybe on some champions, and you know, hopefully utilize it a little bit. You know, we do this because we enjoy it. We love stats. We love statistics. Me and CLT, we find it very interesting. It can kind of give you um, a broad scope of certain things, but also giving you a more defined, unique uh, string of information. Um, and again, like Dropboard was very much helpful in this, and he's another person that really likes statistics as well. So it's been a side project for us. I hope you guys are utilizing it. But I don't think I got anything else. CLT, do you?
No, sir. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
of course. I know normally the segment on the stats might be a little longer, guys, but me and CLT we're feeling a little sleepy. You know, we've been working hard out here, and but yeah, if you guys have any questions, if you guys have any comments, please, you know, give us some more feedback. We love the feedback. Um, you know, hopefully we can continue to grow this new show we got and make it better and better for you guys. But let us know what we can do better because we really, really, really do want to know. Um, so we're open to ideas. But yeah, thanks guys again. Thank you for watching Midwest Weekly. Um, thank you for watching, you know, the stats and power rankings, and just thank you for all the support. And looking forward to a final week of the regular season, and and then you know All Stars. So yeah, anything before we head out, CLT?
Yeah, one small note we didn't touch on. Blue side up 10 on red side now.
Oh yeah, that was massive. I forgot about that too. I can't believe it's taken such a far turn up like that. It's kind of crazy. Uh, but I guess nothing's impossible, right? So,
Right.
and
Yeah.
we played 80 games this split, guys. So for all the um series that are possible, so it'd be 9 series uh a week, which would be right now 36 series. Um, we've had 80 games, so you could figure out the math on that. But that's obviously more than 2 games a series on average, which is great. I think that's awesome that teams are being pushed to the third game more consistently than we've ever had. Um, so that's pretty cool. Uh, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'll leave it at that and pick blue side. We'll catch you guys in the next episode. Look out for that next week and have a wonderful night. GG.